Hey, Blake T. Wild here, and welcome to the Comic Schtick podcast, the podcast where comics are my shtick. I continue to not discuss comics as the series continues. Aside from that last episode, was it last episode where I went through and discussed my thoughts on, what is it called, Absolute DC? I think so. I just really haven't had much to discuss, so I was holding back on making some episodes. I was busy doing other stuff, working on other projects and whatnot, etc., etc. So that's where I've been. That's that little, hiatus. I say it's a weekly podcast, but really it's not. It's just whenever I feel like I have enough stuff to talk about. And I finally do. There's quite a lot going on, as you can see from the title of this episode. So let's kind of get into things. Of course, as always, follow me on Instagram at NotBlakeWild. Check out my Patreon for early access and my comics and whatnot on there. And also, I have a new podcast coming out, which is what I'm about to discuss. And it is called I Need Some Disney Podcast. It is a podcast where myself and my wife go through and discuss the history of Disney and its attractions and rides, weird characters, shows, movies, games, whatever other sort of Disney-related stuff that we feel like discussing. Right now, it's pretty heavily theme park-based, the first several episodes that we have recorded. I'm also trying to convince her to come back and start recording some more episodes for There's a Podcast in the Percolator, our Twin Peaks podcast from the past year. So hopefully that'll start back up again once we have some more free time. But if you're into Disney, if you like hearing the behind-the-scenes history and whatnot and sort of stuff that's happening like I do. I've never been a big Disney fan, but in the past couple months, since we visited Disneyland in October, my first ever time going, I found that I'm far more interested in the behind-the-scenes aspects, the Imagineering, as it's called, and everything that goes into like just making these and just the weird sort of backstories and whatnot and all this stuff. Things that have come and gone, especially. Extinct attractions is what the Disney Wiki describes them as. Just things of that nature. So, check it out if you're interested. Our first two episodes are on Muppets, the Muppet Vision 3D, which is closing down next year and being replaced by a new Monsters, Inc. themed land in Walt Disney World. And the second episode is on the Rise of the Resistance ride, as well as our thoughts on Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. Our next coming episodes, can't really remember. One of them is about all the new stuff coming to Disneyland and Disney World. And the third one, that's what it is. The third one's about Dino Land USA. So stay tuned if you're interested in those. Now let's get into this. So, I usually don't talk about video games very often on here. I'll play them. Not often. Not frequently. I'll probably get that Indiana Jones game sometime soon, but I'm really not a big gamer anymore. But there's still some games I like to revisit, such as the Ghostbusters game and Fallout games and whatnot. I need to get back into doing the Fallout 3 series, get that game finished. But something that I have revisited and started is the Mafia series. Epic Games was selling all three Mafia games for about $5 each. Mafia Definitive Editions, I should note. Meaning, for the first one was completely remastered in every way possible. Fantastic game. First time I'd ever played it, and it was amazing. I was so into it, I finished it over 2 days. I was so just into that game, and it might be my favorite of the three. Obviously, Mafia 2 is everyone's favorite. That's like the one most people jumped in on. That's the one it's the only Mafia game I've ever played before this. I love that game, but there's just something about this Mafia 1 Definitive Edition that I just really loved to experience. These games are just so immersive, and I'll say it, hot take coming in, they're better than Grand Theft Auto. They just are. They're more attention to detail. They're more unique. They actually feel interesting and not just a big bland caricature. which is what GTA practically is after 5 especially. The Mafia games feel like GTA San Andreas almost, just a little more serious. Because after that, there's GTA 4, which has Nico, but at the same time, it has some pretty silly stuff happening there. It also has Ballad of Gay Tony taking place. And then Grand Theft Auto 5, as we all know, just goes off the fucking rails and is practically a Saints Row game. Saints Row, another series I love. But anyway, I'm going through. I'm playing all 3 of the Mafia games. I am into Mafia 2 pretty early on. Just got out of prison in the game, which I don't know when that happens. Is that the halfway point? Is that little under the halfway point? Not too sure. But it has been many, many years since I played it. I don't think I ever actually finished it. I know I got into the 50s, but I don't think I ever continued after like this early 1950s spot. So it's just really enjoyable to go back. The disappointing thing about the Mafia 2 Definitive Edition is that it's just a remaster, or not exactly. It's a texture graphical remaster, unlike the first one, which is completely from the ground up, new models, new everything, new acting, new cutscenes, everything's brand new. So that's disappointing because, it already looked great on PC. The main limitations were for consoles. I guess it comes with the DLC, so you don't have to pay extra for that. And then Mafia 3, which is built on the same gaming engine as, I believe, the Mafia 1 remake. I'd imagine it's going to look pretty good. It's going to probably look the same as it did when it came out. Most likely, I'd imagine, I'm saying imagine a lot. It's probably just going to be better graphics, maybe? I don't know, but again, I'm playing on PC, so that doesn't really matter to begin with. But I'm very interested in getting there. It's one hell of a ride thus far. I'm looking forward to playing Mafia 3. I know everybody hated it when it came out for varying reasons. It doesn't have to do with veto, which is a weird thing to complain about because the first game didn't have, this character doesn't really follow through. It's a new character each game. The fact that he's black, I'm sure, was a big thing a lot of idiots complained about. And from what I've heard now, from like the forum threads on Reddit of being like, Mafia 3 is not really a bad game. People are mostly saying that the gameplay itself is the issue. It's very apparently repetitive. Again, I don't know. I never played it. I remember watching videos when it came out, but that's as far as I got. So I'm looking forward to it. Especially for $5. I got all 3 games, about $15. So great deal. Highly looking forward to it. Love this series. And this leads me finally into the news that broke last night at the Video Game Awards. Something I've never watched in my life. Didn't watch it last night either. And that was the first official trailer for the next Mafia game was published. Mafia: The Old Country. And it looks fantastic. Story seems neat. It's set in Italy, obviously. It's the old country. Possibly during the 1920s, I'd imagine. Because the first game's 30s, second game is some 40s, some 50s. Third game, late 60s, I want to say. I think it's like 68 or 69, maybe. Now they're going back. They're going way back. 20s, possibly. If anything, it might... I don't really know my Italian history very well. So I can never... in my mind, currently, I'm getting it confused with, like, Spanish history of the time. I don't really know when Mussolini came into power. I'd imagine it's sometime in the early to mid-30s is what I'm guessing. I don't really know too much about Mussolini. It was always a blind spot, I suppose, in my infatuation with World War II as a child. Most people say that men have a sort of midlife crisis phase where they suddenly get obsessed with World War II. I had that when I was about 10 years old. So I'm ahead of the curve. But it would be interesting to see these changes come into effect as the game progresses. The Mafia games, at least the first 2, they're very heavily focused on covering large spans of time. The first one... Oh, they're coming for me. What is that noise? that a helicopter? I think it's a helicopter. Yeah, it's a helicopter. It's passing over. Mafia 1 starts at 1930, goes to about 1938, and then the epilogue is in like the 50s. Mafia 2, 1945-ish into early 50s, 1951, 1952, 1953 or so. Mafia 3, I don't know. Again, not sure. I think it might just kind of take place in that one time frame, that 1 year, unless there's a flashback of some sort. Interesting now that I just realized is that two of the protagonists are war veterans, Vito and Clay, something I think his name is in the third one. But anyway, it would be neat to see a span of time where it goes from maybe 1920s Italy to the introduction of Mussolini and the Italian fascist party coming into power and how that affects the mafia. It's alluded to in, I think, Mafia 2. There's a character who says that he came to the country of America. Yeah, it is in Mafia 2. Mussolini came into power, stuff went bad for them, so he moved to America. So that might be something that's interesting to see, maybe. Might be 1910s, now that I'm thinking about it. 1915s. So probably not. I'm going to say it's 1910 to 1920 range. Around there, maybe. Not too sure. Haven't looked into it that far. Trailer looks phenomenal, though. It looks, like I said, beautiful. It's a really neat story. You play as a young man named Enzo, I think, who is inducted to the family. You get to see, it's the same storyline we've seen each time, but just a little different this time. So I'm highly excited for that. I am full on board for more Mafia games. I think what happened is that Mafia 3 didn't do as well as they'd hoped, and there's some issues behind the scenes, and so this is kind of their, let's play it safe, and sort of go back, let's do a kind of slightly smaller scale, let's put it back in time so there's less stuff to worry about in the world. The worlds of which are in these games are all wonderfully created, so immersive, so much detail. So I can't wait to see what this is going to be like. So let's do that. They'll take it to the old country. They'll make it a little cheaper. Not as much money will have to go into this one. And then we'll see what happens. We'll see how the response is. We'll see, if this one does really good, then we'll take you guys to Las Vegas in the next one or something. That's something that people have been talking about on forums for years is we need a Mafia game set in Vegas, in early Vegas, which would be neat and makes sense. I wonder if they would have Frank Sinatra in it. Probably not, because I doubt his estate would allow that. But yes, all that is to say, Mafia the Old Country trailer released. If you haven't checked out the Mafia games, I highly recommend them. If this hasn't piqued your interest, then I don't know what will. Maybe watch the trailers for each one. Just do Mafia Definitive Edition trailer, Mafia 2 Definitive Edition trailer, Mafia 3 Definitive Edition trailer, and just see what you think. I love the games. They are a wonderful story, and like I said, you get so immersed in these games. It's just wonderful. My favorite thing about Mafia 1 is I played it on a harder difficulty, not classic, which is apparently fucking a pain in the ass. I played it on hard, and I also had all of the simulation things on there. That's another thing I love, is the simulation aspect of it, because that means you can have manual transmission, and you have to press a button on your controller or the keyboard to shift gears, and you have to worry about that as you're getting into car chases and shifting up and down in your gears to keep up or get away. The police and how they react to things. In the first one, it's the 30s. They don't really give that much of a shit if you kind of, keep it on the down low for the most part. But by the second one, if you run a stop sign or a stoplight, you're getting pulled over, you can get arrested, and you can possibly bribe your way out of it. In the third one, from what I've seen on a short on YouTube, is since you're playing a black guy, as soon as you walk up to a police officer, he gets very angry. So there's just so much stuff going in here. Again, I love the Mafia games, I think, more than I don't think. I know I love them more than Grand Theft Auto. At least the modern couple of Grand Theft Auto games. They're just so much fun. I remember playing Grand Theft Auto 4 like 10, 15 years ago and modding it to be closer to Mafia 2. Adding in, the thing with the police and all these extra sort of immersive bits and like all the businesses you can visit like in Mafia 2, and you have to have gasoline for your fucking car. Your car can run out of gasoline in these games, and you gotta make sure you refill it before that happens. They are so much fun for a fucking nerd like me who loves playing Euro Truck Simulator. Moving on, everything else from here on out is going to be movie focused. Lilo and Stitch 2025 teaser. They released a teaser for the live action Lilo and Stitch picture. Stitch looks cute. He's fuzzy. He looks like a little koala alien like he did in the cartoon. It's a teaser trailer of him on the beach, and he's doing the scene where he's like, destroying the little city he makes in the original in Lilo's bedroom. Except now it's on a beach, and it's a bunch of like sand buildings, and the Disney castle is made out of sand, and he destroys that. It looks cute, looks fun. I'm very excited for it. Lilo and Stitch, one of my favorite Disney films. I was more of a Pixar guy anyway, but Lilo and Stitch and Mulan are definitely the two Disney films that I was obsessed with as a kid. Lilo and Stitch especially because of the soundtrack. Oh my god, I fell in love with the soundtrack like I'm sure every child that age did. Wonderfully well done. It's such a beautiful sound, especially the Polynesian, Hawaiian sort of culture. Music and dance is such an important aspect, and I just hope that they keep that for this one, and they don't go the Mulan route, which I think based on Lion King, they aren't doing that anymore. They're like, oh, people got mad when we took the songs out, put them back. So I'm looking forward to this. This is actually a Disney live-action remake that I am excited for. I loved Lilo and Stitch. I love Lilo and Stitch 2, kind of. The Stitch Has a Glitch, I think is what that one is. The show I adored. I loved all the weird little aliens. There's a couple of them that were my favorite that I can't really remember. Recognize them if I saw them. The one with the big fists that punched, and the little chef guy, and a couple of the creepier ones. The Bonnie and Clyde one with their little guns. I love those. So yeah, this is actually a live action remake that I'm looking forward to, and I hope I'm not disappointed by it. Continuing to live-action movies, the Mandalorian and Grogu film has wrapped filming and is expected to release May 2026. Whole year, almost, a year and a half or so, maybe? Almost. Until we get the Mandalorian and Grogu, the final eclipse of the Mandalorian saga. I don't know if Ahsoka Season 2 is going to be out by then. I don't know what's going on with Ahsoka Season 2. I don't think I've heard anything about it, now that I'm thinking about it. So who knows when that'll come out. You'd expect Ahsoka Season 2 to release before that and be the lead-in, because I don't know what else would be. That's the only thing that really makes sense to me. But I'm looking forward to it. Grand Admiral Thrawn, it's the Avengers Infinity War of the Star Wars TV universe, and I cannot wait to see what happens. I am very excited for it. But that's not the last of our Mandalorian and Grogu news, because Jeremy Allen White, the guy from The Bear, has allegedly, rumors go, been cast as Rotta the Hutt in the film. Now, if you're not a Star Wars fucking huge dork like me, you won't know who the hell that is. You'll recognize that it's a Hutt, like Jabba. Or, well, if you're not a Star Wars nerd, that's probably the only Hutt you know. You don't know Mahama or Zero or the one with the mustache and the monocle that gets murdered by Darth Vader, I think. There's a whole Hutt council. Don't worry about it. Rotta the Hutt is the offspring of Jabba. Now, Hutts are hermaphroditic. Why did I say it like that? So they can, they sort of choose their kind of sex depending on, I don't know how it works. I don't know what Hutt's anatomy functions are, but seemingly since it's Jeremy Allen White, Rotta the Hutt is a boy. They call him Jabba's son, so I guess it happened already. He is the baby Hutt in the much maligned Star Wars The Clone Wars feature film that kickstarted a new era of Star Wars in 2008. He gets kidnapped after Zero the Hutt, his uncle, sells him out, and that is the crux of that whole film. I don't think he has ever once appeared again in any Star Wars medium, show, movie, comic, kid's book. Nothing after that movie had Stinky the Hutt, as Ahsoka affectionately referred to him because he smelled. So the fact that they are bringing back Rotta the Hutt is pretty cool. It's a glupshido, is that what it is? That people are going to make fun of, and I'm sure I already have. But I think it's pretty cool to bring him back, and I'm excited to see what his character design is going to look like. Is he also going to have that Desegic arm tattoo like Jabba has? Or actually, I think Jabba has it like on his forearm. That's right, Jabba the Hutt has a tattoo. It kind of looks like a brand, now that I think about it, but I think it's a tattoo. It's his, like, family crest, you might notice. But that is pretty cool. Walton Goggins officially declared and showed off that he is returning as the Ghoul in, Fallout Season 2. He shared a behind-the-scenes image of himself in the makeup chair, so that is starting production, or has already started production. Now, here's the thing. I still have not watched the first season. I know I was saying at the beginning how big of a Fallout fan I am, and I love Fallout. But I still haven't bothered to watch it. I know it's a great show. I know. But I just haven't bothered. Still haven't watched it. And I don't know why. The next Evil Dead film is officially in the works. It's in production, and it has been entitled Evil Dead Burn. And I think it's by the guy who directed a small crime film called The Last Stop in Yuma County or something like that. Last Stop Out of Yuma, something along those lines. I just learned that this morning. But I am looking forward to it. If it can keep the direction and bring something new while also sticking in the vein of Evil Dead films like Evil Dead Rise did, I am 100% here for it. I love it so much. I am very excited to see what this means. Evil Dead Burn, Rise, Burn. Is there a pattern here? But this horror-based sort of discussion leads us in to the biggest horror film news. 28 years later. I've been talking about it for the past couple episodes. I don't know how long I've been talking about the fact that this is going to be made. But it has finally released its trailer, and yes, it's filmed off of an iPhone. But if you look up any photos of it, it's clearly no longer an iPhone. There are so many thousands of dollars of attachments. It is purely a marketing gimmick, because the original one was filmed on a shoestring budget with a camcorder, and they had to go into London in before dawn to get those empty street scenes because they couldn't get the permits and all that. They couldn't afford it. So now they're like, oh, look at this. He's filming it on an iPhone. It's like a modern day camcorder. And then you see the behind the scenes, and it's just this giant rig that looks like a transformer mid-transformation. But that I don't care about that. I never gave a shit. The marketing gimmick that it's an iPhone isn't going to work for me because I hate Apple. And I'm glad Steve Jobs is dead. But here is the description of 28 years later. It's been almost 3 decades since the Rage virus escaped the biological weapons compound laboratory thing. And now, still in a ruthlessly enforced quarantine, some have found ways to exist amidst the infected. One such group of survivors lives on a small island connected to the mainland by a single heavily guarded and defended causeway. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the dark heart of the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but other survivors as well. Dun dun dun. So that's interesting. Here are my notes that I took as I watched the trailer. Initially, I thought that the group of infected that we see silhouetted on the hill in the trailer, I didn't think they really looked that infected, you know? They looked like they were like dancing around like they were part of the Manson family or something. But seemingly, like, I thought it was like a pro-infection cult, possibly. Like, Ralph Fiennes is in it, and he's like in that weird forest that's all just the trunks and the pile of skulls. So I was like, oh, maybe it's like a cult thing going on, which, you know, the description kind of leads you to believe, like, oh, they've figured out a way to live alongside the infected. Maybe they do some weird kind of, like, offerings, possibly, to them. Or, like, they worship them. Or, like, you know, a pro-infection cult, like I said. But there are rumors that this mutation of the infection is that they have, the infected have become smarter. They are growing in intelligence. And it's something between, like, infected and humans. Like, I doubt it's going to be like, yeah, we coexist with the infected. Look, there's Bob and his wife walking down the street of our little camp. I doubt it's going to be that, but that just made me think, oh my god, they ripped off Zack Snyder. Because if you didn't watch Army of the Dead, and I don't blame you, because that movie fucking sucks, there are intelligent zombies in that film. And something I learned is that apparently in the original script, because that movie was in production since like 2009, they wanted to have a zombie man rape a human woman. Thank God that didn't happen. Yeah, that was going to be a thing. So hopefully we don't have to witness it here. God forbid I have to watch a fucking Hills Have Eyes-esque scene like that again. I say again. Like, Hills Have Eyes. I hate that scene. Or The Descent, I think. Is that what I'm thinking of, maybe? But, yeah. I was talking about this to some people online, and I was sort of in disbelief when they were like, yeah, apparently so there were some leaks that, you know, say the infected have grown intelligent, there's like a mutation of the strain or whatever. And I was worried that that was the case. I didn't want to admit it, that it could be true, because it worked okay for the later George Romero Living Dead films. But I think, I don't know. I'm sure it's going to work because the director and the writer and everybody working on it are great storytellers and they can, you know, tell some good stuff. But I just think that the only time intelligent zombies really has worked is Return of the Night of the Living Dead. A movie that is pretty much a parody. I fucking love that film. There's a scene, you might have seen it. It's where a zombie shuffles up to a cop car, grabs the radio and goes, "Send more cops," so that the zombies can eat them all. And that's a recurring joke through the film, is that they keep sending more and more police to this area because they keep getting calls to send more. And then they just keep getting eaten. Yeah, I'm not interested in seeing a weird I Am Legend, Omega Man-esque take on zombies, I guess. That just doesn't really pique my interest, I suppose. I bet that this new little society that we see, the village on the island, that shit's gonna get devastated before we truly see what reality is like for these people nearly 30 years after, the outbreak. People online have already been discussing, oh, well, is this going to ignore 28 weeks later? I don't think so. They practically reference it in the fucking trailer. It says in 28 hours it broke out, in 28 days it took over, in 28 weeks it destroyed the country or whatever. In 28 years, well, you'll see. The thing is that the events of 28 days later, which you might not have, or 28 weeks later, which you might not have seen because it is a pain in the ass to find online. You're just going to have to probably go to a, like a pirate website or something. The thing about what happens in that is that was fucking that was 28 years before this film takes place. The events of that, one of which is that we see the zombies arriving at the Eiffel Tower, going on a little holiday. That is of so little importance to these people trying to live on this little island off the coast of England or whatever. It doesn't matter. It is of just zero interest to them what could possibly be happening still nearly 30 years later on mainland Europe. Maybe a couple of countries are quarantined still. Maybe they were able to stop it in France and the mainland. Maybe France is a crater of nuclear waste after they bombed the place when they saw that it was infected, and they did the Last of Us thing where you gotta bomb the city. Who knows? I doubt they're going to bother telling us because it's not important to these characters. And as such, it's not going to be important to the story that's being told with them. Maybe it'll be referenced by someone more on the mainland, like someone our characters meet along the way. Maybe Cillian Murphy will mention something like, I miss France. Who knows? Cillian Murphy, of course, is not that fucking zombie in the sunflowers. I laughed when I saw the comments saying that, oh, here's his first sneak peek of Cillian Murphy as this horribly decrepit zombie. But then idiots online in every comment section were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's him. That's him. They believed it. No, it's not. Clearly, obviously they thought they looked alike, which is why they put it in the trailer to get people talking. I think he's the guy hanging upside down in that little house. He's practically a decrepit zombie man, but these past 28 years haven't been great for Jim, or James, Jim, I think they just call him Jim. Also, Jimmy and whatnot is written on the house, and I think it's written on the guy's chest. So, unless Jim did that to that dude hanging upside down and left his calling card of his nickname, I'm pretty sure that's him in the house, and then he kind of just joins our heroes. Because here's the thing. There are apparently at least 2 sequels already planned. There's one of them that's in production currently, which is called 28 Years Later Part 2, The Bone Temple, which is what I call my bedroom. That full description, that full title. The other one is unnamed as of yet. As of now. As of the time of recording, we still do not know if there will be a third or if it's even what its name is. But there's definitely going to be a part 2. The Bone Temple. I'm very excited. I love 28 Days Later. 28 Weeks Later. Opening's the best part, I think. Everybody can agree on that. It's an alright film. It's not as good as the original, obviously, of course. But I'm looking forward to it. I've been excited ever since this was announced. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Moving on, here's another video game thing I probably should have mentioned earlier. Marvel Rivals released. Just bring it up real quick. If you haven't seen my video on it, Captain America is a lunatic or something along those lines, go check it out. It's my first ever time playing Marvel Rivals, and I'm not great at it. I don't know how I did so well as far as I did in that game. I guess it was just a bunch of other early people playing. But it's a fun game. It's fine. Like I said, I'm really not that much of a gamer, really. So I didn't really know what to do. I'm sure I'm still missing stuff, but I just kind of played as Captain America for it. I've also played as Psylocke, who is fun, and for some reason cannot use her katana. Outside of her, ultimate, I guess. Unless there's something I've missed. Which, why even bother? I thought it was going to be a little more like Team Fortress 2. That's the only game I can really equate this to. I've never played Overwatch. I played Paladins many years ago, but I barely remember what that was like. It's fun. It's a fun game. It has a lot of pornography already. As soon as I was looking through those hero character models, So my first thought is there's going to be a lot of porn from this game. What are your thoughts on Marvel Rivals? Moving on, back to movie stuff. Spelunkers apparently found the Fantastic Four set in a mine with labels Subterranea Cathedral. So Mole Man is going to be, in some form or fashion, a part of this movie. In what way? Who on God's green earth knows? Is he going to be a cameo? Is he going to be just appearing during... I think it might be like a montage or something, because there's already so much shit going on in this fucking film that I don't know if you can really have all that and Mole Man. Maybe it'll be like a news report once they get their powers, or it'll be like on the anniversary of when the Fantastic Four beat the Mole Man or something like that. Or it's like a flashback or something. It's not going to be a big part of the film is what I'm guessing. The things that we really saw, aside from like just kind of like the set tables where they're getting everything ready, is a swordfish bus. I don't know what that means. I guess that's the brand of bus, like a city bus that got sunken down or something. But it's interesting. I'm so excited for Fantastic Four. Love it. I can't wait. Can't wait to see Mole Man. Chris Evans has been cast in Avengers Doomsday, by the way. Yeah, for some reason, like I said at the top of the show, I was waiting to get some more stuff to talk about. I mean, I guess I could do a topic episode here and there. I should probably just do that, just to keep the series going. But I was just going to do it on Skeleton Crew and Creature Commandos. But then there's just this fucking deluge of movie news and discussions. And one of them is that Chris Evans is back for Avengers Doomsday. Don't know who he's going to play. Doctor Doom, maybe. just a variance of Doctor Doom, and they're all played by the Avengers. Cool. Sure. I don't care. The universe is going to end. I've been saying it. How many movies have I been saying this for? How many episodes have I been saying this for? Every time something about the new Avengers films comes up, or a new Marvel property, is that if it's so earth-shattering, just storyline, I just don't care at this point, because the universe is being destroyed. Once it comes back, sure. Miss Marvel, or Captain Marvel, it happened the same way it did there, but now it's just this new part of the universe. It's like nothing ever went kablooey, just like in the comics. But at this point, since we know what's coming, my enthusiasm has been lessened. Because it just feels like, there's the comic book events coming up. But this one's not written by Jonathan Hickman. So, yeah, who cares if Chris Evans is going to be in this new film? People are in the theater going to freak out. The normal people who don't watch and keep up with this stuff like we do. I'm sure people who follow this are going to find out several months beforehand who he is. Maybe he's playing a Thor version. Maybe he's playing a version of Thor, and he's the Thor that was crying. We thought it was Hemsworth, but it was actually Chris Evans as Thor. Maybe he's playing Hyperion from the Squadron Supreme. I would be so upset if the one fucking time they introduce anybody from the Squadron Supreme is in Avengers Doomsday and he's played by Chris Evans. I would be so angry. They got the X-Men now, so he could be an X-Man. He could be Havoc, Cable. He could be the voice of Venom. I don't know. He's Doc Ock's right tentacle, who's come to life and just kind of talks to him like a little puppet, like like Johnny Knoxville's alien character in Men in Black 2. Who gives a shit? Moving on, James Gunn reveals that there were plans for 3 different spin-offs of the Guardians of the Galaxy while he was still at Marvel Studios. That was a Ravagers TV series, a Legendary Star-Lord project, which I imagine is probably still in works, at least. unless he's just coming back for a movie, and that's what they meant by his Star-Lord will return. And a Rocket and Groot project. Again, of those three, Ravagers is definitely dead. That was 100% a James Gunn passion project. Legendary Star-Lord is probably the most likely to arrive, because I can't really see a Rocket and Groot project making it anywhere off the ground. No matter what little devices Rocket Raccoon has. If he has a little jetpack like in Marvel Rivals, and has a stupid fucking mohawk. I hate that mohawk. Here's some... Here's some sad news. I couldn't even say that without breaking. Sony's Spider-Man villain spin-off universe is dead. They announced it's ending with Kraven the Hunter as the final film, but then there's a little add-on at the end that says for now. So what does that mean for this universe? 3 Venoms, Morbius, Madam Web, and a Kraven. 6! That's what they should do for the Sinister Six. 3 Venoms, Kraven, Morbius, and Madam Web. It sucks that the Vulture's dead now. Because, like, what's going to happen to that universe? He's never coming back because they took him. They stole him from the MCU. Seemingly, and now he's stuck there in this dead universe. God almighty, what a mess. Oy vey. Kraven the Hunter, of course, comes out later this month. Or no, is it... Fuck, is it today? Does Kraven the Hunter come out today? I'm going to use my one Google. As established, I get 1 Google per episode. Does it come out today? Oh my god, it comes out today. I'm recording this and releasing it the same day. So I gotta go see Kraven. It's the last Sony film. It has a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. I cannot believe that Venom 2 is the highest rated movie in this universe at like 57%. Fuck, we're never gonna get El Muerto. Oh my god, this also means that those fucking TV shows. Spider-Man Noir, that's already a thing. That's being filmed, so that's coming out. That was never going to be in this. But was that... what's her name? Cindy Moon. What is her name? What is her, like, superhero name? I don't really know. Does she have a superhero name? Or they just kind of call her Cindy. There was going to be a Cindy Moon TV show, remember? And they were like, oh, well, we got to rework it to be less girly. Bros got to like it, so we need more ass shots or whatever. There was going to be a show with her, played by the same actor who, like, plays her in the background of the MCU Spider-Man films. Another one that they stole. Another one of the scraps of the MCU that Sony's just digging at. Is that dead as well? Was that going to be in this universe? Do they have to rework some stuff again? Who knows? Meanwhile, though, across the pond, in a thriving, lushful, growing universe, the DC universe is that a CLAYFACE movie is in the works, written by Mike Flanagan, and begins filming in early 2025, which is fucking insane! That they already have it that... Or they've been working on that for a while. James Gunn said they're not going to be making movie announcements unless they got, like, actors and the script done. And actual productions in motion. And that seems pretty true thus far. Alan Tudyk, if I remember correctly, is going to be playing CLAYFACE. Hopefully it's not as ridiculous as his Harley Quinn one is. He's just fucking all over the place, isn't he, in the DC universe? So that's going to be awesome to see. It's going to be interesting what they do with it, because it's kind of like a Joker situation, but good. Harley Quinn, speaking of Joker, Season 5 trailer was released. I don't think I ever finished Season 4. I think I started it, but I never got around to it. Animation looks better. I remember that being an issue, is that, like, they cut the budget on, like, Seasons 3 and 4, maybe. So, this one, just from this trailer, it already looks better. They're moving to Metropolis, because Gotham is a fucking ruinous shithole. So they're going to Metropolis. They're going to be hanging out there. It seems like there's, like, a time jump, I think, maybe. Also, Brainiac's the villain, and he has his little monkey pet, which was a thing he had in the 60s, so I'm glad they brought that back. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Creature Commandos, officially released. This is the first official start to the Gunn universe. Of course, Peacemaker Season 1, I would say, is technically in there somewhere. Maybe Blue Beetle. Maybe Blue Beetle. I'm still a believer in Blue Beetle. I finally watched it like this past summer, I think. I'm still a believer. I'm still a blue believable. What am I trying to say? A beetle, believer. I'm a believer of Blue Beetle. God almighty, am I having a stroke? What is happening? I think it's going to still possibly be in that universe, because I was thinking about it today. Blue Beetle, that film is so tonally distinct and different in every possible way from the previous DC universe that it just feels at home in this new one. Like, it's a fake city that they live in. There's like weird hologram neon signs everywhere. There's the Carapax villain. Like, that's something that I loved about it, is that it has that heightened sense of reality that it is an alternate universe, which is what James Gunn is implementing into this series of this universe so perfectly. I love it so much. Just right from the get-go. Fucking Cersei exists. Themyscira is a thing, possibly, that's rumored. But people kind of know about it because of Cersei. There's a fucking Eastern European country where all the guards have high-tech armored knight suits. Suicide Squad is also a thing that happened. Yeah, that's a thing, is that Suicide Squad exists. Again, just because it's like with the fucking comics. I've said it again and again, referring to Peacemaker especially, is that just because it gets rebooted doesn't mean that those same fucking events didn't happen. With Peacemaker, Season 1 could have ended either with a different version of the Justice League showing up late, or the Justice League just kind of don't show up in this version. Who cares? It's the exact same storyline is the same leading up to it, because it's all the same characters. It's the same situation. We know that the Suicide Squad and ostensibly some kind of similarity lead up to that from the Ayer Suicide Squad, or Task Force X, my fan edit if you're interested, happen in this universe to lead up to these events to get Weasel on the team. It all hinges on Weasel. He's the key to all of this. But it's just bonkers off the bat. They're reading young romance magazines, which is a great callback that I loved. That's in like a opening thing. There's somebody's reading a magazine. It's Young Romance, it's not Young Romance. Young Love is what the DC romance comics were. I think I might have gone over an issue of it in an old video. But those are great. I highly recommend picking up the old romance comics whenever you get the chance. Jack Kirby, creator of the romance comic genre. Fun fact. But here, I'm just going to go down episode by episode, my notes, typical discussion format for this series, for this podcast. Episode 1, I loved the Fleischer Superman intro little animation thingy. That was really cool to see. That's a unique take. I really enjoyed that. I was pleasantly surprised. Cersei, the Amazonians, the Neckbeard Army, which is fucking great. I loved it when they did it in She-Hulk. She-Hulk, very realistic portrayal of some of these people, especially, some of those things they were saying I've read online. This one, it's a bit more out there. They're a paramilitary force now that are trying to invade whatever the Eastern European country is. Again, the Young Love thing. I like that Waller just kind of blatantly lies to Rick Flag Sr. about Weasel and Corto Maltese. I should have made more note of what that means, because I can't really remember what she says, but she's discussing it with him, and it's a blatant outright lie. This also, that Waller TV show, is that still in production? Because where does this take place? Because this is obviously after Peacemaker Season 1, because they reference the fact that her daughter outed her, but she's still in charge. So seemingly the Waller show is going to probably happen concurrently, maybe with this, if not after it, with some stuff from beforehand. Maybe. I'm sure the show is going to open up with, like, her getting arrested, and then we're just going to, like, cut to, like, maybe a more modern time. Interesting. I didn't really think about this. What is the timeline for Amanda Waller in this new universe? Episode 1 continues. Here's my theory, is that the princess is the villain, and that the queen, quote-unquote, is the actual princess, maybe? Or, like, the actual person in charge. Because they make it a whole thing to show how inbred and horrible this royal family is, and then you see the princess, and she's gorgeous. She's played by... can't remember her name. Maria Bakalova, I believe, is what it is. Surprised I actually remembered that. And just right away, she's trying to get Rick Flag alone. She's immediately flirting with him and trying, like I said, trying to get him alone, trying to learn more about what they're doing here. Some people think that it's CLAYFACE, which apparently CLAYFACE is in one of the trailers, or something that looks like CLAYFACE is in one of the trailers. I can see that happening, but at the same time, why? Why is CLAYFACE pretending to be this hot European princess? Like, what do they get out of it? What is CLAYFACE? Who's he hired by, maybe? Like, what would be the main purpose of this? Because as we see, episode 4, it's like if she or whoever, the Pokalovan, what is the country, are in charge, the world ends or something, like nuclear war breaks out, like Cersei grants this vision, but like you can't really trust Cersei. But there's something Cersei wants. We don't know why she's really invading or why she's trying to kill the princess and take over, although she says it's for the betterment of the world. Again, who can trust her? But I'm still not sure if it is CLAYFACE. I definitely think that she is the villain, secret villain, somebody impersonating the princess, maybe. Because that's another thing, is that would mean that all of the guards would kind of have to be in on it as well, if she doesn't normally look like that. Or whoever it is, what if it's like Parasite? No, Parasite can't really change his shapeshift. Like somebody, like the queen, quote unquote, is the princess. She looked hot and young, like she does when we see her, but it's actually like they absorbed her life essence and reconfigured their person to look like her or something through some sort of shape-shifting ability. I don't know. Or magic, like in Princess, what is it called? Princess and the Frog? Frog Prince? Frog Princess? Princess Frog? What is that movie? Tiana and the Frog? Whatever happens in that. The little helper, the fat helper guy who gets the amulet with the blood of the prince, and he masquerades as him magically. Maybe it's something like that. Because I don't... Now that we know that a CLAYFACE movie is in the works, it's seeming more likely that it could be CLAYFACE. But again, to what end? To what end is CLAYFACE? Who's CLAYFACE working for? Because CLAYFACE isn't the mastermind behind whatever plan is going on here. So who could it possibly be? I don't know. Something else I don't know is how old is Rick Flag Sr.? I guess he had Rick Flag Jr. pretty goddamn young. I was actually looking up the actors' ages. They're about 10 years apart. I also learned that Joel Kinnaman is Swedish. Did anybody else know this, that he's a Swede? I never knew that. My final note for for episode 1 is that Fish is adorable. That's because I couldn't remember her name. I now remember it. Her name is Nina. I love her. She is so cute. I'm excited to see what she can do once she, gets her time to shine. I really love that each of these episodes kind of focuses, aside from the first one, I guess, has been focusing on the characters as we go. Episode 2. The bride's backstory is horrible, depressing, disgusting, kind of hot. The sex scene just, oh my god. Cannot believe Frankenstein fucked by Victor Frankenstein. That's very off-putting. That's very gross. Victor von Frankenstein, horrible person. In the original novel, his wife is, oh god, his wife is his adopted sister, which is a thing that no other version of Frankenstein has ever brought up. Maybe the Guillermo del Toro one will acknowledge this, because I've never seen it discussed before, is that she is like a childhood friend of Victor's whose parents died, and Victor's parents adopt her, bring her into the family, and like she kind of gets groomed to be his husband or to be his wife, and it's really off-putting and it is very creepy. So hey, that's probably something that happened in this reality as well. I don't know what could have happened, because there's definitely something else we don't know. We know he made Eric the monster, the creation. He seemingly kind of worked out the same as the original sort of Mary Shelley story happened, except he's less philosophical, I suppose. And he demands a bride, which is, again, that's something that happens in the novel, is that he doesn't want to be alone as this soul, strange creature that is unnatural. He wants another. And so, they have the bride. She freaks out, be it because I saw a lot of comments being like, oh, well, she's not attracted to him. But she also was just, like, born. And this fucking massive hulking Frankenstein man, I love you. He fucking runs up to her. He's practically like Lenny from Mice of Men. And she freaks the fuck out and gets scared of him. And she like learns to hate him, no doubt, also added on to by Victor. She was made to essentially be a slave, I suppose, a love slave of his. But it's gonna be, there's definitely more to it leading up to that point that she doesn't know about, I'd imagine. This is also coming from the fact that I just kind of like the Frankenstein in the comics, and I don't want him to be an outright bad guy, so I'm kind of, am I victim blaming? Making excuses for him. GI Robot Nazi Killer, he's awesome. The sex scene was interesting between the princess and Flag. James Gunn posted behind-the-scenes footage of them in this recording booth doing that, and it's a lot of just them kissing their hands like this and making kissing noises and moans. It's interesting to see. The Royal Guards, I really like the head guy. He grew on me as these episodes continue, so he will no doubt be brutally murdered, probably by the princess herself, quote-unquote princess. The purple song. Here's something that's interesting. Because this is such a this is like a shorter show, or at least it feels quicker. It feels shorter than like Peacemaker did. James Gunn doesn't get to use music as much, I think. Like, he doesn't really get to play around with his song choices as much as he did in like Peacemaker, I feel. So what he's choosing, I don't know. It's kind of hit or miss so far. I'm enjoying them, definitely. But that purple song that plays when the bride fights Cersei, that's something that I forgot to point out. The fight scenes and everything. The choreography is wonderful. Flag versus Phosphorus, great. I really love that one. Bride versus Cersei, really fucking awesome. Great fight scenes, great choreography, great animation, especially when the fights kick up. Everything becomes so fluid. But that purple song, I don't know what it's called. I think that's what I don't know, maybe what it is. It was just weird. I didn't think, it didn't feel like it synced up. It like followed along with what was happening until near the end of the fight. Like the music kind of tonally matched what was occurring. And I get that dissonance disconnaissance, fuck me, whatever the word is. I get that can be used as a thing. That has a whole TV tropes page about it. But I don't think it worked very well. I think there could have been a way better song. James Gunn is a fucking mastermind when it comes to finding weird, obscure songs, and I'm sure he could have gotten one that more better flowed with the scene, because we have this highfalutin, wild action going on, but at the same time, it just kind of feels bogged down by the song choice. And music aspects of storytelling are just a huge, important part for me. I think it's really just can add so much. That's why in my comics like The Custodians and the one I'm working on currently, another one I should say that I'm writing as we go, as I'm working on the Custodians issues. What am I doing with this? The Custodians, each issue of my 6-issue comic series has a soundtrack to follow along with. It's up on Spotify. You can listen to the first 2 on there as well. And I have little color-coordinated blocks on the top of the pages to when you're supposed to listen to each ones, or when I imagine if this was like a TV show or a movie, would be when these songs played. So that's just an extra added experience to kind of get into this vibe and this feeling of this, this artwork that we're witnessing, and these feelings and music. Just it's alchemical how it can change you and enhance everything. So when it's something like this, like that Purple song, I just feel like it detracted more than it did add. So that's an issue that I've had. The montage at the end just kind of comes out of nowhere. I thought the episode was ending when it's like goes into like a slideshow or something. But then it continued with the montage, and then there was some stuff after that too. So that was weird. Episode 3, Sergeant Rock and Easy Company. Holy shit! There's rumors that they're working on a Sergeant Rock and Easy Company project again. Something with Daniel Craig, I think. Oh my god, I love Sergeant Rock. I have the action figure over here somewhere in the pile behind my Ghostbuster stuff. Unfortunately, it's the Army Man, Green Army Man variant that I got sent, and not the actual one. So I need to get a better one. Sergeant Rock was like one of the earliest comic books that I really bought en masse. Bringing this back around, it's like I planned all this or something. When I was talking about my obsession with World War II as a kid, that dove into like movies and comics and stuff. I have seen Saving Private Ryan so many times, but Sergeant Rock was the one comic that I would like always buy. Like I didn't read Spider-Man or Batman or Superman or anything like that. Sergeant Rock were the books that I would get when we would stop at this comic book shop where I would buy Star Wars toys and Sergeant Rock comics. So seeing that was awesome. William Magnus, the Metal Men creator, that's really cool. Dan DiDio, I'm sure, was happy to see that. He loves those Metal Men. Another Alan Tudyk character, if I remember correctly. A little thing I noticed is that Fitzgibbon, one of them. I'm not sure if there's an S at the end or not. The neo-Nazi guy. As soon as I was suspicious about why this guy was buying this war artifact, and then he shows a U.S. agent. He shows G.I. Robot his little like memorabilia room, and we see the flag of Imperial Japan hanging from the roof, and I was like, oh, he's a neo-Nazi. And then he talks about how some people want to better the country, of course, and everything like that. But that's not why I brought it up. It's because Fitzgibbon is a name that appears in pretty much every James Gunn project. He has said it in an interview, I'm pretty sure, unless I'm making that part up, but I'm pretty sure I've either read or listened to him in an interview say that he adds Fitzgibbons as a name of a character in everything he works on and writes. That was the name. The reason that it stuck out is because I learned this after Peacemaker. That's the name of what's her name? The main investigator's partner, the guy with the goatee. His name is Fitzgibbon, whatever. And that was just something that stuck out to me when I was watching this episode. That's a fun little thing. Who will Fitzgibbons be in Superman? Just stay tuned to find out. Fantastic, however, going back to my complaint of the episode 2, complete opposite for episode 3. Fantastic G.I. Robot montage and the song choice, the little machine, coin-operated boy. Oh, coin-operated boy. Better stop before YouTube gets me for that perfect coverage of it. That was fantastic. That was adoring. I loved seeing some Nazis get brutally murdered. Only good Nazi is a dead Nazi. Don't forget that. The animal, vegetable, mineral man makes a cameo appearance. So that's a thing in this new universe. Well, maybe the Doom Patrol also exists as well. Of course, rest in peace, G.I. Robot. I bet he's going to come back in some capacity. I hope. Because so far, this seems a little more lenient than Suicide Squad was. Like, I was expecting it to just be kind of more of a bloodbath as it goes. Obviously, it's just Suicide Squad with monsters. But for some reason, James Gunn did a great job of lulling us into a false sense of security that these characters are just going to be okay. But G.I. Robot gets blown up, but he's a robot, so he stands a far better chance of coming back in some way than any of the other fuckers do. And finally, we get that little nightmare sequence, which involves people I saw was Peacemaker, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Hawkgirl, Starfire, Superman, Mr. Terrific, and then I believe also Guy Gardner and Robin, Damian Wayne Robin appear in that. So those are all characters that are established and that we know of existing thus far. Pretty much all of them we knew about, except for Starfire. Supergirl's getting her own movie. Hawkgirl, and Wonder Woman, I guess. Starfire and Wonder Woman, we had no sort of official, announcement that they exist. But Supergirl gets her own movie. Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner are in Superman. They make an appearance. Mr. Terrific, or I already said that one. Robin is going to be in Batman and Robin, or whatever it's called. Peacemaker, duh, and Superman, we knew about. So that's very interesting. And their costume designs are unique because, like the Starfire one, it kind of looks like her. Is it New 52 or is it just like a newer version? I honestly don't know. And her Wonder Woman look is kind of more of a classic Linda Carter-esque, I think. Looked like she had the shorts. Or what do you call that? What is that Wonder Woman Linda Carter wore? What do you call those bottoms? Because they're not really shorts. It's like the bottom half of a bodysuit, but the bodysuit is just the pants. What is that piece of clothing? But that is the end. I am so loving this show. I'm adoring it. I am into it. I'm here 100%. I love the weird new universe that James Gunn is influencing. It's not our world anymore, baby. It's not. It's a whole new world with its own history and its own pop culture and its own political issues. This is what I want. I'm tired of DC just copying the Marvel method of it's the world outside of your window. Do your own fucking thing. You're a comic book universe. You don't have to adhere to what's happening in real life. I don't want that. I see real life every day. Give me more of this. Give me more weird magazines and like superhero gossip articles and I don't know, anything else. Weird reality shows involving superheroes. That was something that Marvel was doing for a little bit. Remember Civil War? They should do that. But I'm loving it. Let me know what your thoughts are on Creature Commandos. I think it's fantastic. It's going to be a bloodbath by the time this show ends, and I bet Rick Flag Sr. might be the only survivor. Also, there's a Superman theory that Cersei is going to be the villain, which I can see happening. I think that would be pretty cool. That poster of Superman pulling up his boot, in the background, people are pointing out that the purple explosion, which I feel like a lot of people kind of assumed was just like a villain or a giant monster, the kaiju as it keeps being referred to in the rumors, or that giant sun, that living computer sun. Can't remember its name. But I saw a good point, which is that it seems like it's being shot at something, and it's like a ball of explosion of energy as it's hitting green energy, which is coming from somewhere that's hidden behind the slat in the window. Could be Guy Gardner fighting Cersei. And the fact that Superman could possibly face in his first outing a magical hero or magical villain, Superman's not immune to magic. It fucks him up. So that could be a good, unique way of shoving it in the face of people being like, oh, Superman is so boring. He's too super. He doesn't have any villains. He's just gonna save the day. You know, getting rid of that fucking old boring spiel. I doubt it. I don't think they would do that, but if depending on how interconnected they want this universe to kind of be and overlapping with itself, it could be a possibility. And now we move into Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew, it's a new Star Wars show, and it's for kids, and it's about kids. And I fucking hate it. Oh my god. Star Wars for kids? I'm surprised that my recommended videos on YouTube have not been videos like that. I've not seen much about it, thankfully. It's just kind of sticking to itself. I'm sure what the fuck is his name? Star Wars Theory? Is that dipshit? I'm sure he's angry about it for one reason or another, just trying to drive up that engagement and being an asshole. But who has two thumbs and fucking loves Skeleton Crew? This guy. It's so good. I hate the Goonies. I've said it before. I hate the Goonies. It's a bad movie, and the only reason that people enjoy it or like it is because of nostalgia, and they watched it as children. And they probably haven't watched it very much recently, or if they have, they've just kind of indoctrinated themselves to enjoy it. I watched it for the first time a couple years ago, and it's bad. It's a dumb film. And I don't like any of the characters. I don't like the writing. I don't like the directing or anything. Well, the directing, it's Spielberg, so it's going to look good. But I don't like it. Bad movie. Was kind of apprehensive because this was like, oh, it's Goonies but Star Wars. But this is so much better. This is awesome. I love it. I loved everything. Episode 1, starting the discussion now. The new intro with Rex and young Anakin for some reason. I guess because it's the kids. I don't know. But I love, that's one of my favorite things about the Disney acquisition is the TV show intros. I just love that spinning red and blue light and the changing of the obsidian black faces. These they're almost like sculpted out of obsidian or onyx or something. It just looks so cool. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite parts of any of the Disney Plus Disney Plus Star Wars shows. I would like to see them start doing it for the pictures as well. The films that are released have that at the beginning too. But they'll probably just stick to the 20th century openings for that. Or they could just put them all in together. The pirate invasion, just right off the bat, that was a horrifying experience. Just thinking about, it's essentially the opening of A New Hope, but you're even more fucked, I feel. Although everybody on the Tantive 4 were killed when they blew up the ship and claimed that it was like an asteroid strike or something, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But it is so much the Tantive 4 invasion at the beginning of A New Hope that there is the line of, I don't know if I miswrote this or if that's actually what it's called. They say, this is a bull freighter. I think that's what they say. I don't remember. This is a bull freighter. If this is a bull freighter, then why is your vault sealed? Which is, that doesn't sound right. I don't know what the proper term for that freighter is. A bank freighter, maybe? I don't know. That is 100% straight up reference to, this is a diplomatic ship. If this is a diplomatic ship, then where? Or this is an ambassador ship. If this is an ambassador ship, then where is your ambassador? Jude Law, pirate captain. Pretty obvious that was him. Brutus the mutiny, oh my god, I love him. Brutus is fucking awesome. He looks great. I love the animatronic. I love the puppetry. I love all the puppets and aliens in this show. So I love At-Aten. I really like it. I love the suburban planet idea because it kind of makes sense. It was probably, and as the show goes on, I feel like I'm being vindicated here in my thoughts. I think, as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, well, this is clearly the future stages of what was once an early colonial planet. It just evolved into this. It was seemingly, from what we discover in episode 3, it's been around since the Old Republic era, which how the fuck do they handle the breeding aspects? I don't know. Maybe they let people in and out occasionally. It kind of feels almost like the woods, the forest. What was that M. Night Shyamalan movie with Bryce Dallas Howard, I think? The Village? Is that what it is? Where they're like, oh, it's colonial times, but right over here is actually a 7-Eleven. It feels much like that. It's also a fucking hellscape. It's like a dystopian corporate capitalistic hellscape. The kids want to be accountants. They want to be administrators. There's something ominously referred to as the great work. It's really creepy and off-putting, and I really dig it. It's really cool that I thought initially that the Jedi toys, the kids, Neil and Wynn playing lightsabers on the street, I thought it was going to be okay, well, this is full-on the aftermath of the Jedi propaganda for Luke Skywalker. The stuff that filled his head up so much that he kind of became a little arrogant and kind of believed in the myth too much himself. I think that's what he says in The Last Jedi. That's leading into this. Nope. Nope. It's just because they don't know what happened to the Jedi. Although it kind of seems like the people up top know what's happening in the outside world. People down below don't. The DJ Rex droid bus driver. Always great to see those droids. They're the best pilot droids, apparently. That's all that they kind of function as, I think. KB and Fern. I really love all the kids in the show. I think they all bring great aspects of different characters to this little group. Neil, of course, is my favorite. He's just so gosh darn cute. Neil Nation, rise up. And KB, my main issue with her is that I wish that she would have just kept the visor down the whole time, because she looks cooler with it down. And it kind of reminded me of Lobot in a way. I full-on thought, okay, she's a full-on cyborg and she just has that implanted in her face. But then she lifts it up and it's oh, there's just her face. But she still has it implanted, in her ears, right? We see that in technology. It must be some kind of older or alternative evolution of technology than what Lobot has, where it goes around the back of his head, because we saw that also in Star Wars Rebels. It's some sort of, just master computational cybernetic enhancement or something, which is clearly what hers is as well, just maybe a lesser variant of it, I don't know. Something neat that I noticed is the Rancor from The Force Unleashed is in Wim's little storybook. The Rancor with the blue day-glow neon blacklight markings. Wizard. Fuck me, man. When Wizard was spoken, I was going to say something to my wife when we were watching it, but I was she's not going to know what the fuck I'm talking about. I was waiting for someone to say, that's so Wizard. And when it did, I lost my mind. But I lost my mind even more when the holiday special hologram was referenced. Oh my god, I was losing it. I could not believe it. I was so happy. And then, of course, this all ends with the ship taking off. It's really I think it's well done not storytelling. Well, that's here or there. The world building aspect is my favorite part of that first episode. Just seeing how the world works. I like how the cars, they're not actual, like, hover vehicles. They're on, like, this tram system with, like, a metal arm that's just in, like, a slot car or something, kind of. Is that what a slot car is? Maybe not. But there's just something really unique about that, how that works and what that sort of means for their society. Like, they're all just so ingrained into following order and just this almost iron fist of total, like, administrative order, essentially. I'm at a loss for words, unfortunately. That even the vehicles are tethered to this planet. No one can leave. Sure, you can get, like, a speeder bike, a swoop bike, if you will, and ride around on it like KB and Fern do. Like, Wim has one as well. Neil might have one, I think. But you're still stuck on the planet. You can't leave the planet. You can't even leave the planet in your own fucking little car. Everything is dead center on this planet. So what could the great works be? It's either going to be actual treasure. Maybe the planet's core is made of solid gold. I don't know. Or it's gonna wind up being nothing. It's the friends we made along the way. Hey, the real treasure was the skeleton crew we found along the way. Of course, now we move into episode 2 with Smee. If you haven't noticed, the disgruntled pirate second in command, his name is Smee, like Captain Hook, except he's SM-33. I love that guy. I really cool design. I got into an argument online with some people who thought that it was an Imperial, like, K2 droid, security droid. Fucking showed them. I showed them who's the biggest nerd. Fern, she's fun. She's not my favorite of the group, but she really comes into her own as a little psychopath in this episode. There's an Aldani reference as well when I think they're just kind of discussing planets, so neat to see some little back and forth between the shows. Aldani is the planet that Cassian Andor conducts a heist upon in the show, with the eye and the meteor shower and all that. The barrier of At-Aten planet as a whole just brings in so many questions. Like, how does it work? How do they sustain? How have they sustained themselves for hundreds and hundreds of years? The only possible way is having very coordinated, very specific ships coming in and out, because how else would they do this? I don't know. Unless it's just hydroponic farms and a very selective eugenics program. I think they say wizard again in this episode because my note is just all capitals, wizard. The starport was really cool. Favorite eras of Star Wars is post episode 3 into episode 4 in the original trilogy, and now beyond, because we're just seeing the weirdness of the world of this universe. And the pirates port on the asteroid thing was, oh my god, there's just so much going on. I want to watch it again and just look at every background extra. I want to look at all the aliens. I want action figures of them all. I want backstories of them all, which we would have gotten if this was the old Lucasfilm. Every one of those fucking characters would have a several-page backstory, but now they just don't do that anymore, and it's disappointing. Disney, hire me on to the storyteller, the holocron group, whatever they're called. I'll just fucking give me a screenshot of every goddamn scene in this show, and I'll go through and write a backstory for each one of these people. Those 2 Jawas that appeared in the 3rd episode, I got a story for them. But that spaceport, so cool. I love the rat chef. I love the tattoo droid. Everything going on was just really cool to see. There's even, I'm pretty sure, there is a Pirate's Life yo-ho. You know, like in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Yo-ho, yo-ho, a pirate's life for me. There is a song that is occurring in the background of when the kids are walking around that sounds like a Star Wars version of that. This episode especially, episode 2, very much felt like Treasure Planet / Island. Like, we're really delving deeper into that sort of classic pirate story, which is interesting because that was like one of Disney's earliest live action, maybe first live action films. Very successful. That's the film that Adobe Acrobat has updated successfully, if you're wondering what that noise was. That's the movie where we get that pirate voice from. Is the Captain Pirate from that film. So this is really starting to dive into that, and I really enjoyed it. At Aten, they describe as a lost planet of eternal treasure, which again just makes me think that the true eternal treasure are the friends we made along the way. Of course, Jaleel White finally appears as the second in command to Captain Brutus, and we meet Jod Nanarwood. Interesting name. Who knows if that's his real name, because he also goes by Crimson Jack and Silvo. Come on. Treasure Island. Treasure Planet also. Episode 3, one of my favorite things, it's kind of almost like a running gag at this point of these Star Wars Disney Plus shows, is that the Constable Zuvio headpieces are just getting reused so often. If you don't know who Constable Zuvio is, I don't blame you. He was in the first wave of action figures for Force Awakens. He was a constable at Nema Outpost, if I remember correctly, the place that Rey lived. He was going to be in the film, but they cut his scenes. So he's kind of just in the background with like his little deputies. We have seen his species in just about every Star Wars show that has come out since then, live action at least. They love that design. They keep reusing it. Even a version of his species was in the Clone Wars too, if I remember correctly. I think so. But there's some Zuvio guards in this show, so it continues that nice tradition of his species just constantly showing up. And can I just say how much Jude Law shines? What a great actor. I loved seeing him in this show. I think he's doing a fantastic job as Jod. The hyperspace escape was fun. It was pretty intense and horribly graphic. Well, not really graphic, but like destructive at the end. Like when that fucking coil whips back and just starts slamming into the pirate port, like people are fucking blowing up and getting launched into space. It's like, holy shit. I want to know, my biggest question, however, for this episode at least, is what is that food that they are eating in the ship? Because at first I thought it was like Rice Krispie or something, just with green food dye. Obviously it's been dyed green, but I'm thinking that it's quinoa dyed green, because it was little clumps of little tiny balls with like some extra like slime goop over top of it, maybe like a melted cheese. Ugh, I don't know how well that would taste, but I'm thinking my theory for what that food is green quinoa. I'm looking forward to knowing what Jod's sort of history is, because he's not a Jedi. He's old enough to have been, I suppose, in the Jedi Order, because this is... How long is this? I don't really know when this takes place after the original trilogy. Now that I think about it, and I already used my one Google, so I guess I'll never know. But I suppose he could be old enough. It's early New Republic, mid-New Republic era. He could have been a Padawan or a Padawan learner at the time and escaped, if he was a Jedi at all. Because, let us not forget, midichlorians fill every person. The Force flows through all. It just takes... Well, obviously it takes the training to, proper training, but... if you work hard enough at it, you can get some kind of Force abilities, which, he's not doing much. He's lifting a key. He's turning off the lights. He probably doesn't have too much Force training. But it was interesting to see his disrespect to droids, because, again, he's about the right age to have been growing up during the the Clone Wars, the Galactic's Clone Wars, the first Civil War, I suppose, of this world. They keep bringing up the great work of Atten, and I just want to know what that is really bad. A quote that I enjoyed is, not everything in the galaxy can be calculated. I don't know why, that just really stuck out to me as like a sort of poignant kind of thing. I thought he was going to say, never tell me the odds. But thankfully he didn't. He said something more unique. The synth theremin score that plays when they arrive at the moon, the observatory moon, I loved it. That was a really cool score. I'd like to hear it just without anything else, just the soundtrack or the score of the show itself. I don't know who's doing the music production. I don't think it's Ludwig Göransson anymore. I don't think he's done it for a while for the Star Wars shows. Maybe, did he only do Mandalorian? He might have only done Mandalorian now that I think about it. But that was just really neat. I expected... I thought I didn't expect it because I saw it on the thumbnail on Disney Plus that it was like that owl person, that owl woman. Crazy design, insane. That seems like something straight out of the Marvel Disney or the Marvel 70s 80s Star Wars comics of just this little owl being. It's very silly. It feels like Jackson the Rabbit should be hanging out with her. I thought it would have been cool if it was Maz Kanata. That's kind of like, deep down I was hoping like, oh, maybe the owl works for her and, you know, it's actually Maz. Bring her back. But I guess that you know, that kind of limits and shrinks the universe down to be like, oh, well, Maz Kanata's in this too. Like, he knows Maz, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure in a certain way he does. Like, might have heard of her. But it just kind of, that would be a little too much like the old universe for the Star Wars, the EU, now called Legends, which is like every fucking buddy and their grandmother met Han Solo and Chewbacca before the films. Like, they all running into each other. It's like the universe is 3 city blocks or something. So I am glad that it wasn't, but would have been neat. Crimson Jack, of course, is another name of Jods, which is a reference to, again, the old Marvel Star Wars comics. And this is when it's revealed that Atten, again, was around in the Old Republic, which is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And my final note, because we're getting really long here in the episode, is that the chase scene, the final big climactic chase scene across the surface of the moon, for some reason, I can't really explain why, it reminded me of Indiana Jones. Like Jod Law, he had a very Harrison Ford Indy sort of type to him during that scene where he's commanding the kids around to do different things, ordering these children to open fire on New Republic soldiers, along with the music and just like kind of the choreography and the action and all that. There was just something about it that made me feel like I was a kid watching like Indy escape the Nazis or something. Which is terrible to say about the New Republic. But it's kind of true. You know, we saw that there's some sort of, neo-imperial stuff going on. But I am loving Skeleton Crew. Adoring it. I am having so much fun. It's such a fun show. I'm loving all the new droids and the aliens and the settings. That's what I want to see in the Star Wars stuff. I want to see some crazy ideas brought to life, and I'm really digging it. I'm loving Neil. He's so cute. The kids are all great. I don't have a problem with them. The dialogue in the first episode was kind of odd and clunky, but I think it's gotten better as the show continues. It's gotten less expository, I suppose. Which, what do you expect? They kind of have to set some things up, so it might be a little off. But I'm loving it. I think it's great. I still haven't watched The Acolyte. I haven't watched Bad Batch. I was just looking at this the other night. I'm so behind on Star Wars stuff. Bad Batch Season 3, The Acolyte, Tales of the Empire I still haven't watched. I am so behind on my Star Wars viewings, and it makes me upset because I love Star Wars so much. But that is the end of this episode, this very long return. Skeleton Crew, Creature Commandos, MCU leaks, 28 years later, Mandalorian and Grogu, Lilo and Stitch, Rotta the Hutt returns, Marvel Rivals, I guess. All the DC news. Let me know what you thought of all of that in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are, of course, in the comments below. Leave a rating if you're listening to the podcast version, and let me know what you thought there as well. As always, follow me on Instagram at NotBlakeWild, at Smokey's Videos, and at I Need Some Disney. I think that's what it is, or I Need Some Disney Pod. You should be able to find it. Check out that podcast as well, anywhere podcasts are found, except for Apple Podcasts, because it is such a pain in the ass to set up. I hate it so much that I don't even bother anymore. So check that all out and leave reviews. Check them out. I'm losing my mind. But anyway, check that out there. My Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos, and Etsy shop, blakesywild.etsy.com, where you can see my comics, early access to videos, and behind-the-scenes stuff and all that whatnot on there. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!